All right. Well, Iran has now struck Israel. It looks like the strikes are maybe done for the night, but of course, we don't know and we won't know until we wake up, I guess, in the morning. Or, well, that's because for me, it's very late because I'm in Europe, as you guys know, but we'll see how the rest of this plays out. But at this point, Iran and Israel are going at it. Iran has struck Israel. You can see here in the footage that they have sent several ballistic missiles. Many of them hit Tel Aviv. The reports are still murky on what exactly has been hit in Israel and if there's been any real damage. Some are saying that Iran claimed that they downed two Israeli jets, took a female pilot hostage. They also claimed that the Dimona nuclear plant in Israel has been hit. They're saying that the Ministry of Defense in Israel was in fact hit. That that there was, I think the IDF was hit. Their like headquarters. So there's a lot of they're saying that there's potentially some Israelis that have been killed in this strike. So we're still, it's still early on, and we're still gathering the information in the news. So we don't really know exactly what the damage has been to Tel Aviv, and what is and what isn't real. Now, what caused this? Did Israel just get hit just because the world is just anti-Semitic, and out of nowhere Iran just decided to attack all the Jews? No, obviously we know that's not what happened. But Israel earlier in the day struck Iran. Let's go ahead and pull up the footage of Israel hitting Iran, and also we've got a map of all the sites that they struck as they hit Iran. So Israel was attacking Iran. Their attack was quite sophisticated and targeted. In fact, they took out several military generals. They took out several nuclear scientists. They struck several of their uranium enrichment nuclear plants. Again, hard to know what the damage is. In war, the narrative is a lot of it, and neither side is going to admit right away what kind of damage they've done to one another. So it's hard to know. But Iran is sort of claiming that, well, it wasn't that bad. Of course, they did take out the targeted strikes on the generals and the nuclear scientists. They've admitted to those deaths. Those seemed like they were very targeted assassinations that happened inside of the country, which is quite frightening to think that Israel's been able to penetrate Iran to that level. And Iran has been able to strike back at Israel. And we just don't know the exact level of the damage at this point. But these are the strike locations that Israel hit with on Iran, as you can see. Netanyahu came out earlier in the day. This is before Israel was hit by Iran. And Netanyahu said, he gave a reason as to why they were struck. This is what he had to say. Watch this.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival.
Yeah. We've been hearing that for years now, that Iran is at the brink of making a nuclear weapon. This sounds very much like weapons of mass destruction, right? We all remember that. Weapons of mass destruction. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. We have to go in there. We have to save ourselves. This is for the West. This is for everybody. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. And we get in there and there were no weapons of mass destruction. I have to give it to Netanyahu. He's not claiming Iran has weapons of mass destruction at this point. He's just saying they will get them. At least this time, he's not claiming they already have them and we have to go and stop them because they have the weapons of mass destruction and they're going to come target us all. But saying, no, they might get them. They're just minutes away. They're a week away. They're a month away. They're just a little bit away from having these weapons of mass destruction. So we got to stop them now. So he's at least not claiming they already have them. But they've been claiming that they were a week away from having a weapon of mass destruction for the last 10, 15 years? How long have we been hearing this in the headlines over and over and over again? So what's the difference now? Why go after them now? That is the big question, although the answer is quite simple. Donald Trump is in office. Donald Trump is somebody that they view as the most Israel-friendly, the most pro-Israel president ever to have ever existed. And Donald Trump is pretty much giving them the green light to do whatever. I mean, to think that the United States has nothing to do with this, to think that the United States didn't even know about this, are you trying to tell us that the United States had no idea that Ukraine was going to unleash an unprecedented attack on Russia just a couple of weeks ago, and the United States had no idea that Israel was going to unleash an unprecedented attack against Iran? Are we that incompetent? Have we become, as a military force, as a world might, are we that incompetent at this point? I don't think any of us should believe that. I think this is obvious that the United States clearly had, if not involvement, at least gave their blessing, their sanction, had some knowledge of this and allowed it to happen. Meanwhile, tried to pretend like we were at the negotiating table with both Russia and Iran when we never really actually were. This is what Trump had to say about the attack. This is, of course, before Israel. This is before Israel was attacked by Iran. And he says, I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it. But no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it wouldn't be much. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come. So right there, he's basically saying, we're going to wage war against you. Now, we might not have American troops doing it, but it'll be Israeli troops, which, can you really even tell the difference? A lot of them are American, by the way, and they're going to have American weapons. So we're going to have Americans with dual Israeli citizenship with American weapons aimed at you. And he even says, I told them, just do it, do the deal. No matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done, because you were asking for the impossible. You're basically asking them to sacrifice their firstborn child, and you knew they weren't going to do it. You knew that that was too much of an ask. You asked them to go to zero uranium enrichment, which really no country in the world is asking them to do. Even the greatest, most staunchest allies of the United States in the West, not Israel, but everybody else, no one else was expecting Iran to go to zero uranium enrichment. They all knew that Iran could do some uranium enrichment, like every other country, every other sovereign nation in the world, to have nuclear power. And we were asking for their firstborn child. Just give up your firstborn kid. Why won't you do it? Why will you not give up your firstborn child? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Just sacrifice the kid. Who cares, right? It's just a kid. That's exactly what they were asking Iran to do. And Iran was saying, no, we're not going to do that. Sorry, we're just going to have to fight you. And that is what Iran is doing. So Donald Trump continues to go on and says, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They're all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. God bless you all. God bless you all. Now let's go ahead and look at what all these American politicians have been saying since. Now, this is before Iran retaliated. Remember that. These statements made by all these U.S. politicians. This is before Iran retaliated. This is just Israel striking in the middle of the night. Iran didn't get them. This is unprovoked. And this is what here you got, I'm just going to read a few of them to you. Senator Rick Scott. Tonight, I ask every American to join me in praying for the safety of U.S. personnel in the Middle East and the safety and success of Israel as it takes action against the leading state sponsor of terrorism and our shared enemy, Iran. Is Iran a shared enemy? Honestly, Iran is a shared enemy, is what you're trying to tell us? Really? What has Iran ever done to us? I don't remember Iran doing anything to us. And then you've got Lindsey Graham. Game on. Here's Lindsey Graham. Oh, he's just got a hard on for this. I'm sorry. I can't say it any other way. He's all about this. Game on. Pray for Israel, says Lindsey Graham. He's been just waiting for this day. Pray for Israel. Pray for Israel is the one that attacked Iran. Shouldn't you pray for Iran and the citizens that they killed, the kids that they killed? Shouldn't you pray for them? They just got attacked, unprovoked, because they wouldn't give up their uranium enrichment, which we're allowed to do. Israel's allowed to do under the radar. We're not supposed to admit it. Every other country is allowed to do this, but Iran's not allowed to do it. And so we attack them. Who else do we have here? Senator Susan Collins. Iran has greatly expanded its uranium enrichment with the goal of producing nuclear weapons that pose an existential threat to Israel. Okay. Do they pose an existential threat to the United States? I mean, Pakistan having nuclear weapons poses an existential threat to India. Do we care? India having nuclear weapons poses an existential threat against Pakistan. Do we care? No. Why do we care? Why do we care? But she says, our country, too, is at risk as Iran continues its development, not only of fissile material, but also ballistic missiles. Really? Okay. So this is the narrative we've been hearing over and over. We're at risk because they have nuclear weapons. We're at risk. Really? Because I'm pretty sure Russia has nuclear weapons, and that's our greatest enemy, right? They tell us Russia and China are enemies. Nuclear weapons. And so are we being nuked by Russia and China? These great military powers, are they nuking us? What about North Korea? We were told North Korea, if they get a nuke, they're our greatest danger. In fact, Obama sat down with Trump and told him when he took office, our greatest threat is North Korea. They're about to get a nuclear weapon. And if North Korea gets a nuclear weapon, how long has North Korea had a nuclear weapon? Years now, since Trump's first term. They went all through Trump's term, all through Biden. And now they're back at Trump. And are you shaking in your boots over North Korea having a nuclear weapon? Do you feel like you're at constant threat from North Korea? Because they told you would be. And then they got a nuke. And here we are. And you don't even know or care. That's just the reality of it. You don't even know or care. Here's Tim Scott. Israel has the right and responsibility to defend itself against Iran's growing nuclear capabilities. We must support Israel's right of self-defense and keep our troops safe in the region. This logic of because they're growing military capabilities, we must attack them. It's self-defense. We could literally use that against China. We could use that against, or everybody in the world could use that against the United States. They're growing their military capability. This is an existential threat. We must defend ourselves and strike them first. So should every country in the world be allowed to strike the United States first? Because we're growing our military capability. We just increased our Pentagon budget to $1 trillion. Shouldn't every country in the world at this point be looking at that and thinking, well, they're an existential threat. We got to nuke them. Let's get all the nukes that we can together and just go ahead and go at it. Could France just nuke us with their nukes and say, well, you upped your Pentagon budget, your Department of Defense budget, you upped it to $1 trillion. You're clearly an existential threat. We got to get rid of you. Senator Marsha Blackburn, praying for Israel and American troops in the region tonight. Really, I'm so glad that you worry about American troops, so much so that you're praying for them. How about tell our ally, our greatest ally, to not provoke wars that put our American troops at risk? Maybe that's something you could do. Rather than praying to God, maybe you could just, put your foot down. Tom Cotton, gotta love Tom Cotton. He's always got a great take, doesn't he? He's like the worst of all the worst. This guy is like Harvard educated, but he's so stupid. He's the one that couldn't tell the difference between Singapore and China. Iran is the world's worst state sponsor of terrorism, has the blood of thousands of Americans on its hands. Really? And rushing to build not only nuclear weapons, but also missiles that can strike the United States. We back Israel to the hilt all the way. And if the Ayatollahs harm a single American, that will be the end of the Ayatollahs. I want you to remember that last sentence because we're seeing this over and over and over again. In fact, Senator Ted Cruz says, here's my message to the Ayatollahs. If you strike at America, I have every confidence that President Trump will respond with overwhelming force. Pray for Israel. And we're seeing that message from a lot of these senators saying, if you attack Americans, here's my message to Iran. If you attack or harm an American troop, we're coming for you. Now, let me ask you, if you were Israel and you really, you're going to war with Iran and you need the United States to go to war with you, let me just ask you, what would you do? You hear all of these politicians say, you attack an American and we're coming for you. I'm just putting it out there. What would you do? I mean, you want America in the war. You need America in the war. And Americans, not America, but Americans are not wanting war. Americans are extremely war adverse at this point. No more wars in the Middle East. We don't want it. We don't want it. We don't want it. But you're hearing the leadership, the ones who actually have the power, the ones that actually control whether or not the whether or not the troops go, the F-15s go, whether or not, we send carriers into the Middle East. All of this happens. You've got the politicians saying, if you hurt any Americans, we're coming for you. So how would you get America into this war if you were Israel? What would you do? Because it's pretty clear. They're pretty much laying it out for you, exactly what you need to do in order to ensure the United States backs you up with our full military might. Harm American troops. That's all you got to do. Somehow harm American troops and pin it on Iran. False flag. This is what we call a false flag, because a false flag allows for the agenda of the warmongers to march forward, even though it really was not the objective of, Iran, for example. So what will happen is we'll see a false flag event. American troops will be harmed, even killed. And Iran will deny it. They'll say, we didn't do this. We didn't do this. And they might be right. They might not have done this. But we'll still go to war anyway, because we're not listening to you, Iran. You did this. You could deny it all you want. You did this. And then we'll find out 20 years from now, oh, you mean they didn't actually do it? It was just, there was other actors there, whether they be Israeli or just crazy Zionists or Lindsey Graham, who really wants to see a war with Iran. And they staged this attack to ensure the United States gets into war, because Americans are war weary. Americans don't want war. And they know this. And so the only way to do it is if you kill some Americans, and then Americans feel like we're out for revenge. We're out for revenge. So I wouldn't be surprised. And this is what this is the scariest part of the war for us as Americans. The scariest part of this war is the fact that they might stage a false flag event against Americans. I don't know how many Americans will be killed, but they'll do it all in the name of getting America into the war with Iran. So we'll go in and we nuke the suckers, or we send in, all of our military might, and we kill off a bunch of American kids in the military in the meantime, in the process. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that happens. So, we'll see what happens with the rest of this. We're at the weekend, and a lot of this stuff happens during the weekend so that they can kind of evade the news cycle. But we're going to still pay a lot of close attention to this. We'll see what happens over the weekend. It's a really bad time for Trump to have a military parade. I really just do not see how Americans are going to digest this tomorrow, watching the military march through Washington as we're on the precipice of a potential, another endless war in the Middle East. One that is not against, by the way, mountain Taliban in Afghanistan, but against highly sophisticated, highly educated Iranians. That is a whole different ballgame. Iranians are not, you'll see ignorant Americans, very ignorant Americans posting videos of very backward Muslims doing backward things in backward situations. And they'll say, well, this is what these Muslims do, and so we have to go after them. That is not the Iranians. The Iranians are quite sophisticated, extremely intelligent. And these are not mountain people who are just like sleeping with goats, which is what people online want to think. That is not that's not Iran. This is a whole different ballgame of a nation. And we couldn't beat the people that you felt like were sleeping with goats in the mountains in Afghanistan. What makes you think we're going to be able to beat nuclear scientists, rocket scientists, highly educated people in Iran? And not only the men, but the women too. This is a country that has educated all of their women, despite what you think about the Muslim nations. And all of them, this is a very sophisticated country, and they're a very, very proud people. And this would be very, very difficult. It would be impossible to win. So this isn't good. So we'll see what happens over the weekend. We'll see if the United States and if Trump actually really reneges on the promises that they made to the American people. I mean, Trump was elected on not getting us into any more of these entanglements. We'll see if Trump does that. We'll also see if the voting base that said we don't want any more wars, we're going to see how easily manipulated they are with the propaganda. How easily propagandized are they? CBD Distillery's stock up sale is officially live. Save up to 40% on everything. If you're struggling to sleep, dealing with daily stress, or you need relief after a tough workout, you have to check out CBD Distillery. They've got natural, plant-based solutions for just about everything. This isn't the low-quality stuff you find at the drugstore. This is premium CBD people swear by. I know a lot of you love CBD Distillery's sleep products. Personally, I love the which is a stress relief product, which really helps me after these stressful shows. They make it so easy to find exactly what you need. You can shop by benefit, sleep, stress, mood and focus, pain after workouts. They even have solutions for pets. So whether CBD Distillery is already part of your routine or you've been curious about trying CBD, now's the time to stock up and save up to 40% off. So discover the healing benefits of CBD and save up to 40% off on everything. Visit cbdistillery.com and enter code RUMBLE. That's cbdistillery.com, code RUMBLE, cbdistillery.com. Not available in Idaho, Iowa, and South Dakota. Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.